Hello, people of the world, and welcome. I am not going to say the title of the show anymore because you already know what it is. Um, today, oh my gosh, today we're going to be talking about something that might be a little bit triggering. Just a little bit. It might be a little bit triggering. Um, Today we're going to talk about stress. Stress and stresses. What stresses you out and what can stress you out. And then we're going to go over maybe some things that I do to help me manage like my stress and my stress levels. So, the reason I got the inspiration for this topic is one of my coworkers said that I should do an episode on anger and anger management. And when I thought about that, I was like, well, there's a lot of things that go into that, and if I were just to talk about like my anger and how I control my anger, I would probably go on for like 3 hours. So we're going to break this up into like a couple episodes. But first off, I want to talk about stress. And the reason I want to talk about stress is because one thing that gets my anger up and going is stresses in life. And how I handled stress in the past really shaped how I think about it now. So, I'm going to give examples and stuff like that about how stress has affected me. But first, we're going to go over like my past self. And I really don't like dipping too far in the past, but that's what shapes everybody. That's what makes you who you are. And the things that you go through are what shapes that. So, in the past, when I was very, very little, the earliest that I can remember is I would get stressed out when my personal space and my personal boundaries were pushed. And what I sort of mean by that is when somebody would get up in my face or like in my personal space and try to make a point, it would stress me out to a point of anger or like, resentment towards that person. And one example of this was when I was in like the third or fourth grade, one or the other. Um, I gotta contemplate this one because I gotta word it right because this person didn't mean to do what they did, but it exactly is like a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So I think I had a crush on a girl in like elementary school, and basically I was flirting, but I didn't really know like what flirting was back then. I didn't take it seriously. Honestly, I was just trying to make friends because when I was a kid, we moved around a lot. And that caused a great amount of stress on me to try to make new friends and meet new people because I had to be outgoing. I had to speak up about things that I personally liked or didn't like. And when I would do that, I would be criticized about the things that I like or didn't like. So making friends was kind of tough. But at the same time, I overcame that because it's my personality to be outgoing and confident. And a lot of people see it. Like, I don't really see it all that much, but people are like, how do you meet new people? How do you do it? Well, first things first, have a personality. That's how I see making friends. So, back in like the third or fourth grade, I was just trying to make friends because I wasn't from that district area. Like, I wasn't from that school. I think it was like a whole new school for me. So, being under the stress of a new school and trying to make friends was something that, like, really put me in a mood. If I would say something or do something that was weird or out of character, people were going to judge me for that. And they were going to criticize my behavior and the way that I did things. So when I made comments towards this girl, and I was just being nice, complimenting her outfit, I think, or like I was complimenting something about her, right? And this kid, this guy, he got really, really, really upset that I was talking to his girlfriend, which back then I didn't think about that stuff. Like I did think about it, but it wasn't like a big deal to me. Like I didn't seriously start dating until I was probably in middle school around 6th or 7th grade. That's when I started taking that whole dating pool like seriously. And I have a whole nother issue of why, I had the people in my life that I did, and it was a lot to do with the fact that I felt more mature than what I actually was at that age. But we'll get onto that like a different time. So, this kid, this guy, he got mad at me for talking to his girlfriend, right? And I was just trying to be nice. I was just trying to make friends. I've always related to women more than I have men. I know what it is, but back then I didn't know what it was. They just had a certain like comfort about them. And them not knowing my intentions or my sexuality or if I was trying to get with them or not kind of put a rock in that wheel that was trying to turn. I was just trying to be a friend. A stick in that wheel is what I should say. But basically I wasn't trying to hit on anybody. I was just trying to be friendly, and I think I complimented them, and this guy got really upset. And of course it started with the "why you talking to my girl," right? One of those situations. Bitch, I ain't even worried about that. Like I ain't even worried about who's your girl, who isn't your girl. I don't care. All right. I'm just trying to make friends. Right. So, and back then I didn't realize that friendship with like females was not normal. I didn't think about it like that. I was so young, so adolescent. I didn't think about it like that. So this kid got really mad and he got up in my face. And I remember we got into a fight. It was like a fist fight. And I knew a little bit of like, karate. Put quotes around karate because it was more of like a self defense. Like I just knew how to, do certain things so that I didn't get hurt. And a lot of people took that as, oh, you know how to fight. No, bish. It's not that. It's the fact that I can take a punch and give one back. Okay. I have a history of being able to take a punch and give it back. Like I can deliver the aggression right back. So, being in that stressful situation already, trying to make friends, when we had this altercation and he got violent, I got violent. I treated his anger with anger. And if I would have known back then, of course, I was a child. I didn't think about it like this. If I would have known back then, like, hey, I'm under a lot of stress from being in a new school area and trying to make friends, I could have explained to him, I'm not hitting on your girl. I'm just trying to make friends. I'm new here. That right there, I think would have cleared up some of that situation, especially with the "I'm new here" line being the best example of that. Because he didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. So if I would have just explained to him, hey, I'm new here. I'm just trying to make friends, maybe it wouldn't have ended in a violent confrontation, right? Like in my brain, I'm like, that wouldn't have ended like that, you know? Years later, we became friends somehow. I don't even know how, really. I think when he found out that I did martial arts when I was younger, um, we got into this likeness for fighting. Back when I was younger, like I want to say younger because I'm 30 now, ew. But back when I was younger, I was a very violent person. I liked to roughhouse. I liked getting physical. I liked fighting. I liked doing those things. As I got older, it became more of like a, do I have to defend myself in this situation? If not, it's not going to happen. So, sorry, loud Honda Civic outside with a turbo, had to rev it up. But if I would have known that back then, that hurting myself and hurting others wasn't the right way to roughhouse or play, then maybe I would have made more friends. I didn't, it's not like I didn't have friends. I can't say that because I had plenty of friends. Honestly, when I got through middle school, I was bullied a lot from elementary to middle school, all the way up till about my freshman year in high school, when I realized all the older kids that I would skate with and hang out with outside of school were higher classmen. They were like juniors and seniors and stuff like that. I had bigger, badder, better people to defend me rather than me having to explain my situations. So, going through when I was young and childlike, I didn't understand what stress really was, if that makes sense. Like, it's hard to explain exactly what was going through my mind back then because I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I suppressed a lot of it because I spent a lot of it um, dealing with consequences for things that I didn't understand, right? I was grounded a lot as a kid. I got a whooping, as I explained in my last episode. Like, I got those a lot as a kid, and it was because I didn't understand the right from wrong aspect. And as I got older, uh, that subsided, and it just became groundings. And if it's called another thing, it's called another thing. But a punishment of sorts, right? Being banished to your room without a TV, okay, like, it was just one of those things where I spent, I think the longest stint that I've ever been quote unquote grounded was like a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I'm not exaggerating either. There was a time where my punishments were so long that I just accepted that this is how life is, you know? So, being under certain stresses, I guess my parents and other adults in my life didn't understand that I was stressed out as a child. And a lot of people go, well, you're a child. You don't have a lot to stress out about. Bitch, there's a lot to stress out about when you're younger. I listen to my nieces and nephews who are younger and like adolescent and my little brothers and sisters. I listen to their problems and I contemplate how they're feeling because nobody really took in consideration how I was feeling back then. Does that make sense? That totally makes sense. I think that makes sense. But yeah, a lot of like dismissal when I was a kid. Like, I was dismissed a lot as my stress just being, oh, you have nothing to stress about. You have school and home. That's it. Well, that brings me to my second example. All right. Um, my stepfather, my first stepfather, who was my sister's father, was very abusive towards my mother and very like emotionally abusive towards us. And from what I remember, uh, physical abuse, I probably blocked it out, but he probably did like physically abuse us a little bit too. And a lot of stress came from, when's dad going to be home? Right? That was like one of the biggest stresses when I was a kid. Both, like, all three of my step parents were like, when's my stepdad going to be home? I got to make sure everything's done before my stepdad gets home. I got to do the dishes, take the trash out, sweep the floors. I got to make sure the table's wiped off and cleared. I got to make sure my homework's done. And if none of that is done, or even just a portion of that isn't done when they get home, I'm going to get a punishment. That was stressful as a child. Like, I felt that like stress. And they're not like that anymore. As age comes wisdom, and you know, personalities change. People are changing all the time. So I thankfully know that they're not like that anymore. And that's such good character building. but it really scarred me as a kid. It put a lot of stress on me, you know? Um, when I would fail in school, I never got the comfort of failing or the it's okay, try better. I got the why can't you do this answer. So, another example that I'm going to give is when I was a child in second grade or like second or fifth grade, one or the other, right? Because I remember this vividly. I got detention for acting up in class. And basically, what happened was I have ADHD. So I did something that my ADHD triggered and it caused the teacher to lash out. And these days, teachers are so calm and collected. I haven't been at school for a long time, so I don't really know. But I do know that a lot of these teachers are more, I want to say, like they don't care, as in like quote, they don't care. If a kid like yells at them or something, they can just send them to the principal's office or they can just give them detention. They understand the punishments that they can use to try to reprimand them for that behavior. Back when I was in school, there really wasn't a lot of that. The teachers were allowed to just like they could yell if they wanted to. They could scream. I remember this one kid got in trouble for like leaning on his chair. So the teacher took his chair away and made him stand throughout the entire class. He yelled at him and everything and took his chair away. That was punishment. And it used to be a lot worse through my parents' generation and their parents' generation. Teachers used to be worse about that stuff. Heck, they used to paddle kids, you know? Um, and so I take those punishments as like it's stressful dealing with a bunch of hooligans in your class, you know? And me being the troublemaker I wouldn't say I was really like a troublemaker, but I was around annoying kids. I would say annoying kids, okay? And I get the stresses behind teachers and stuff like that. They're full of students that are just hooligans, you know? And I remember vividly during a test, like you're supposed to be quiet and focus on your homework and or your test or whatever you're doing, you're supposed to focus, right? And I was in a class with a bunch of kids who had ADHD. I think the entire millennial generation has ADHD. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. Um, and we had kids that would like play drums with their pencils and such and like get their pencils taken away. And I remember this one kid had a mini skateboard. It was no bigger than this microphone. And he was doing like kick flips under the table and like pop shovels and stuff. And he like got in trouble for that during a test. So I get where teachers are stressed with the amount of children that are undiagnosed or just go through life knowing that they have ADHD or like some kind of attention problem. And kids don't understand that. I didn't understand it. I just thought I was a hyper kid. Can't give me sugar, can't drink soda because I get hyper, bounce off the walls. So I get where teachers get frustrated. They yell. They do things that are unnecessary, but in their eyes at the time necessary. So I got detention and it was like one day after school. You had to stay 30 minutes after school. Woo. Right? And I was so scared to tell my stepdad that I got detention because I was going to get a punishment. I didn't know how to handle it. So the entire bus ride home, I was stressing about what was going to happen, what was going to happen when I got home. And when I got home, I decided to just throw the paper away out of like anxiety and stress. I decided to just throw the paper away. I just threw it, right? I didn't even care. I just threw it in a yard. And I went inside, I did my homework, whatever. I was like, I'll figure out how to either explain it or I'll figure out how to do the detention time without my stepdad finding out. I didn't really think about how I was going to explain it. So I was just going to serve the detention and then figure it out later. And I'm at home and I'm doing my homework right after school. I just got home, set my book back down. I got my books out. I was about to do my homework, and there's a knock at the door. My stepdad answers it, and it's some person from across the hall in our apartment complex. We lived in a multi apartment complex, and they had found my detention slip and gave it to my stepdad and said, I think your kid lost this. Bitch, I didn't lose it. I I threw that thing. I did not want anything to do with that. I didn't want my stepdad to give me a whooping. I didn't want to be grounded. I didn't want to be standing in the corner with a penny pressed to my nose to the wall, for hours. I didn't want that. And he said, "Okay, thank you," and closed the door and turns around to me. What's this? There was that anxiety spike. I stressed out. I was so stressed out. I was sweating about it. And I didn't know how to explain it to him. I really didn't. And I was just like, oh, right? I don't know. It looks like a detention slip. That's because it is. Like, I gave him attitude because I was already anxiety ridden about what was going to happen. If I would have just came home and gave him the detention slip and said, I'm sorry. Like, I was being hyperactive in class. I lost control. I don't know what happened. And the teacher got upset. Maybe my punishment would have been less. Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. Who knows? Who knows, right? But I got a big punishment for that one. I just, I was just, man, I was just a goofy kid. I did a lot that like got me in trouble. When I was in like middle school, I used to smoke cigarettes. I don't as much now. I do every now and then, but I'm an adult bitch. I can do what I want now. So back then, I had a person, right, who would sell us cigarettes or like, other substances and things. And I never understood why she sold this stuff to kids because it doesn't make sense to me now. I would never want to corrupt a child. I always think about like that situation and like why would you want to hook a kid on something as stupid as cigarettes? You're kidding me. But this was back when cigarettes were about $5 a pack, and I was paying like $6, $7 for a pack of cigarettes, roughly. And now that's normal, you know. So inflation, stressful. We'll get into that. So she used to sell me cigarettes and stuff like that. Sell all the neighborhood kids cigarettes and stuff. And my parents had caught me with like half smoked cigarettes in my drawer or like cigarettes that were almost smoked all the way down. And the reason I saved those was because if I didn't have enough money to buy those cigarettes, then I had backups, right? I always had like a backup. And I didn't know what to tell them when I got caught with the cigarettes because I couldn't just snitch. I couldn't just do that because then I'd be ruining it for everybody. So, in my eyes, I came up with a lie and it was the stupidest thing ever. I didn't think they would believe it. You know what I mean? I just said, I found them. Where'd you find them? On the road. So you just pick up cigarette butts and smoke them off the side of the road. I went blank. I didn't say nothing. I didn't answer. So the punishment that I got, and I remember my mom had pictures of it. They put a cardboard homeless man sign on me and made me stand on the corner that says I smoke cigarette butts. Why I accepted that punishment, I don't know. I could have just been like, I bought them from somebody and they would have asked who. I would have just said, I'm not snitching, or like, I'm not going to answer that because I don't want them to get in trouble. If I would have taken the punishment for that, it maybe wouldn't have been so embarrassing. But I remember laughing about it when I had the sign on and stuff. I was just like, haha, I was smiling and such. It was so stupid. It was so dumb, like what the heck? And there was like a funeral going on across the street and stuff, and like people from school knew me, so like they knew who I was, and they saw the sign, and people would take pictures and stuff like that. And I remember a car drove up and was like, "Them cigarettes taste good, don't they?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got one?" Little 12, 13-year-old me asking a grown person for cigarettes. That was an amazingly, like, I pulled that one off without the aggression, without the anger, because I did it to myself. Like, I angered myself in a way, if that makes sense. I didn't really anger myself. I just knew, like, it wasn't true. So I made a joke about it. You know what I mean? I didn't have to lie, quote unquote. So there was nothing to be angry about, really, you know? So that was just one of the punishments that I had as a kid. It was so adolescent and so like, it was so dumb. I just remember like, it used to stress me out when they found cigarettes on me, or like I smelled like cigarette smoke, and I had to make up lies just to cover my own butt. Like, that was so ridiculous. That was so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. If you ask my mom to this day, she'll probably remember it. She'll probably remember that. But I did that. I did that kind of stuff. And it was because I was stressed out and I didn't know how to answer, and it would cause anxiety. That's the root of where my stress goes. If I am stressed out about bills or something, or like not being able to afford food or something like that, it's because I have anxiety of how I'm going to answer for that, right? Like if I'm going to run out of money for bills or something, I get stressed out because what's going to happen after that? That's just one example of what happens when you get stressed. If you get stressed, you're worried about the outcome, right? Um, Another good example of stress is because I don't have financial stress right now. At this moment, I don't have financial stress. But in the past, I have stressed over finances and stuff. And one example I can give of that is when me and my ex were together. She would want to go out and eat and be, not so frugal with our money and stuff. I say our money because we didn't split finances. I took a lot of finances on my own and made them my own priority. So I put that stress on myself. I blame myself for that. But when I first like got my first car and I had a car payment, the car payment was like $540 a month almost. And I almost couldn't handle it. I was just stressed out all the time because it was like 170 something dollars off my check every week that I was having to put away for this car payment. And the dealership worked with me. Like they said, if you pay weekly, as long as it adds up to the total end at the month, then you're okay. But my rent was like high up there too. And I was only making probably like 400 bucks a week. So that was very stressful at the time because I didn't know how to budget. I'd never really been on my own budgeting, and I was requiring two incomes just to survive. And one of those incomes wasn't enough because she just wanted to work at gas stations and restaurants and stuff. She didn't want to, but she had to, because factory life she was always deterred from by her own parents because they worked factory. They worked construction. They always had some kind of higher paying job to pay bills and stuff. So financial stress was a big thing out of high school and into my adult years, my young 20s and my late 20s, was financial stress. I had a lot of financial stress because I just wasn't making enough money to cover the expenses that we were trying to do. She wanted a new video game because we gamed a lot, and it was like $60 for the video game. We had to budget and like save up for that video game. It makes sense, but at the same time, it was so, I don't even know how to explain it. It was so frivolous. It was so annoying that I just put it upon myself to take on that stress. and it would cause anger and it would cause disputes between us. We would always argue over money, 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 money. And I feel like a lot of relationships split because of money because there's two financial goals instead of just one. They never, or we never communicated about what our financial goal was. Was it to save money? Was it to go on vacations? Was it to buy a house? Was it to start a family? Was it to pay for the new car? We never got a straight up like reasoning on what our goal was. We were just kind of idling check to check to check. Now I'm at a financial point where it's not so bad, I would say. That's just right now because I work a bunch of overtime at work and I'm covering all of my debt, my credit cards, everything that I have, I'm able to afford because I put budgeting first. I do all that first so I don't have to stress over that stuff. Period. That's awesome to me. Like being able to have the financial freedom to go out and eat when I want to. Like after this podcast, I'm probably going to go grab some food. I could do that. I have the money to do it. I have the credit line to do it and I can pay it. I know I can because I budget. So, um, financial stress is something that falls short of me now, but it probably will in the future. It'll probably hit me like a brick in the future. Like all this good is probably going to come to an end, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about right now and how I can get ahead of that curve. And separating my money into different accounts and budgeting has helped a lot, because I have that financial goal of I want to move, I want to get a car, I want to do stuff, and being ahead of that helps out a lot. So, yeah, stress has been going down a lot. And that's how I manage my stress and my time is making sure that I'm secure so that the anxiety doesn't pop up of what's going to happen next. And it stems from when I was young. I would wonder what was going to come of that stress. What was the outcome? What was going to happen? You know, was I going to get in trouble? Was I going to get punished? Was I going to have to sit and think about what I did? Another example when I was a child was if I didn't afford something or couldn't afford something, I just took it. So that caused a lot of like watching your own back behavior, always looking around the corner, always sleeping with one eye open, making sure that nobody could get the jump on you because you just took from them. I did that to people. I would do that to people. I would bully people into giving me their lunch money. That's how classic of a bully I was in high school. And it developed from being bullied in middle school for hanging out with the wrong people to when I got to high school, I felt more secure and less stress because I didn't have to pay that much, like, bills back then. All I had to do was survive. So having people that were older than me who already went through this kind of stuff have my back really like did it. It was having my own back and knowing that I had friends to help me. Nowadays, I've got my own back, bitch. I don't need anybody else. I do it myself, bitch. I'm not interested in anybody joining my lifestyle because they have their own lifestyle that they're aiming towards or that their goal is, and I have my financial goal. It's two separate things, and that's okay, especially when you're in the dating pool. Let's get into dating and stress. First of all, trying to ask somebody out is stressful enough. When I was in middle school, I tried to ask a girl out because I thought she was single, and she laughed in my face in front of everybody. Bish, I was just trying to express my like for you. I invited her out on a date, an actual like date. I was going to take her out to the local roller skating rink and then I was going to go buy us dinner. Like I had that, like I was going to do that. I had a paper route when I was that age. So I had a little bit of like money that I could just ask somebody out and go out and have a good time. I was allowed to do that. I am so freaking tired just saying. I worked so many 12s the past couple weeks. I am beat tired, but I still got to go get food. Ugh, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm hoping not to fall asleep on the podcast. If you skip ahead, you're just gonna see me all passed out. Like, nah, I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to pass out on the podcast. I'm trying to stay awake so I can go get food. Food. I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll get it. This podcast might be a little short. I did start it like really, really late because I doubled up on my workouts. So my workouts are taking twice as long now. Instead of just an hour every day, it's turning into two, almost 3 hours to work out. So that's another stress of time that I have right now and how I manage my time and how I'm doing it. It stresses me out, but I'm not letting it like deter me from working out. I'm not getting so angry that I got to come home and work out. I'm disappointed and I don't want to, but I have to. So I do it. And regardless of if the podcast is started late, I can edit this later. That's where my stress goes away, is the fact that I could sit here and contemplate what I want to say before I say it and edit all the spaces out on my computer so that it's one nice flow of a podcast. So that's where that stress alleviates from, is the outcome of stressing out for working out more. Okay, I don't have as much time, but I'm still going to do what I need to do or want to do to make sure that my time is valuable. Make sure that that's happening. Make sure I exercise, shower, shave, put on makeup, come in here, sit down and talk to the beautiful people of the world. Making sure that I'm managing that stress. I'm glad that I'm like in so long on this podcast already, because that means I can just like edit and get a bunch of good stuff in. I'm not stressing about it. I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna listen to myself later. Hi, future me. And I'm gonna be laughing at some of the stories that I'm talking about right now. Like, gosh. Some of them are really embarrassing, but others I don't care. Like, I don't care. They're just a part of me in growing up and doing things, you know? So that is another type of stress that I can alleviate off of myself, is like time. I have time to film this podcast. I have time to do it. So, like my coworker said, you should do an episode about anger. I'm spreading all of my anger out through different episodes. So, I'm going to describe through each episode what angers me and how I overcome that anger. But number one is stress. If you're stressing yourself out over frivolous things, then you're going to get angry. You're going to get mad. Unless you're ready for the outcome, don't do the action. Don't stress out about doing it, and while you're doing it, to allow you or deter you from doing the things that you want or feeling good. You got to feel good about the things that you're doing. That's how I feel about it. If I'm stressed out because a musical or like a play or performance that I got to do is like stressing me out because I got to memorize lines or memorize a dance number or something, it takes time to do that. It takes time. It really does. So back when I did, um, I want to say the name, but I'm not allowed to say the name because it's probably copywritten. But I did a show. It was a musical. It's my first musical, and getting out on stage in that costume, I was stressful, but I was stressed less because I had already done it a million times. I just had to repeat what I've been doing in rehearsals this entire time. I get it. I get it. That's a big stress. It really is. I don't know where I was going with that. I was falling asleep for a second. But yeah, imagine your stress levels are a legit like meter of stress. Does it stress you out that bad? Yes or no? If it does, what's going to be the outcome of you being stressed out? Are you going to get angry? Are you going to get aggressive? Things like that. And can you manage that so that the outcome isn't so much of a punishment. That's how I see it. That's how I see it nowadays. So I hear a lot at my job, not from like, anybody specific, but from a few different people I've heard, oh, I got yelled at and that made me mad. Well, no, you got stressed out because somebody told you to do something that you were either already doing or it takes time to do. You're stressed out over it. And let me say, when I was in construction, there were so many people that would just yell and scream and like beat holes in the wall that they got to fix because they don't have enough, grip to get something in there to fix it. So a lot of people that I know that were in that construction company were all about themselves. They didn't care about anybody. They didn't care how you felt. They was going to do it anyway. Dang, I am tired. I just sat here for a minute, closed my eyes, and about dozed off. Ha! No. Gotta stay awake. You gotta do the podcast. Like I said, I didn't get much sleep because of my hours, so I might cut this one a little bit short. Just saying, this might be a half-hour episode, not no hour. Because I don't know if I could do a full hour. Oh my gosh. Ugh. But that's the thing. Is if you let something get very high up on that stress meter, it's going to stress you out and it's going to cause anger, right? So when I'm at work and there's a few people that are telling, oh, I got yelled at. You didn't get yelled at. Trust me, I know what getting yelled at is. I've gotten my butt chewed more than once. Bitch, it's not that bad. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. If they was yelling, we'd have heard it. And we would have heard about it. And if somebody's that stressed about something at work that they got to raise their voice and disrespect you like that, don't put up with that stuff. But you don't have to respond with anger when you're stressed. You don't have to. You can respond with my outlook. Nowadays, here we go into nowadays and tips and tricks that I have that help me deal with this kind of stress and stresses of people and management and other things. When someone says that, oh, they got yelled at, if you truly got yelled at, you're being disrespected. And if you're being disrespected, then stand up for yourself. But if it's just like a stern talking or like a stern command that they're giving you, my tip is to use the old okay. Give them just okay. That's all I do. And if they want to get stressed out about how you don't care about your job, that's on them. They hired you. Okay? They friggin' brought you into this. Well, you wrote me into this. Well, you wrote me into this. Well, he wrote me into this. Don't be Mr. Meeseeks about it. I'm probably going to get copywritten for that one. But I'm not kidding. Don't let other people rope you into being stressed out. If my manager comes up and says, hey, why isn't this done? And I give an answer and they say, well, you need to do better, or you need to do something like this, or you need to move faster, I'm going to give them the old okay. Okay. That's all I can do. And I'm going to continue doing my best. I'm not going to put stress on myself trying to be perfect at everything. I'm going to do the best that I can and call it good. That's what I'm going to do. That's all I can do. If you're already doing the best you can, just say okay. Give them that. That's it. Just okay. Okay. Shrug it off if you got to. Give it the I don't know. Okay. Easy for me anyway. Nowadays when I'm trying to like deal with my stress and my anger, I don't want to get mad at that stuff. So I don't. I don't allow myself that stress bar. I don't allow it to ramp up, you know? So managing your stress, that's a good tip. Is just give them the okay. If it's somebody stressing you out, just give them the okay. If it's a thing stressing you out, let's say a car gets broke down or something, okay, I have to fix it. Instead of, This piece of poop and crap, this crappy car sucks. I'm always working on it. I'm always spending money on it. Well, you have the car. It's yours. It depends on you how stressed out you want to be about having that car or fixing that car. You chose that. And this is not me like picking on my fans. I don't pick on anybody anymore. I don't do that because stress can get to a point where you get stressed out. So I give them and myself and things the okay. I just give them okay. I'll do my best. Okay. That's all you can really do in those situations. So don't fight it. Don't allow yourself to get so stressed out that your meter gets full. Don't allow that stuff in your energy, beesh. Go out there, just give them the old okay, and move on. No big deal. I know a lot of people are like, well, what if they disrespect me? Then don't take disrespect. Respect yourself. You have a responsibility to yourself to respect yourself and respect your boundaries. If one of those mofos at work is screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering at you and it's directed towards you, don't take that disrespect. Do not take that disrespect. Another stressful thing that I would say that you can do to yourself is sometimes when you get overwhelmed, you stress yourself out with how it has to be done. It doesn't have to be done to the extent that you need it. It's just got to be done enough that it works. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So let's say my car, when I got into my car accident, I didn't think about the stress that it would cause to fix my car because I fixed it myself. I did all that myself. I put that stress on myself at a low bar and I fixed it myself. And it caused a lot of like troubleshooting in my brain to do that. So don't think you're going to get it right away. Don't think you're going to be able to minimize your stress overnight because it takes time. It takes time to process. It takes time to being okay with just saying okay and doing your best. That's all you can do. They can't ask for more than your best. You're already giving them your best. If the car's broke, you're putting your best foot forward to fix it. Just like that. Another thing you can ask yourself when you're dealing with stress is how much do I care? That is so big in my current life right now. How much do I really care? Do I care enough to fix the issue or do I not care enough to not let it bother me? And it sounds so lazy to say, but that's one of those okay references that I use. I don't know. I put it on a platter of I don't care. And it goes beyond that too. We're going to talk about relationships and stuff like that with other people later down the road and the I don't care effect. Because once you're with someone for a very long time, like I was, and they leave, your disconnect from socials and stuff like that goes right out the door with them. And your I don't care phase hits harder than you think. Mine's still going. So don't forget, like your stress is how you handle it. And if you handle it in a positive tone, in a positive way, it's going to go a lot farther than it would if you did it in a non conforming way, as in, like, yelled or screamed back because you stressed out and you got anger. Okay, you're allowed to be angry. It's just how long will that last? It's really hard to stay on task right now. I'm telling you, I am so tired. Oh, and I still gotta drive to go get food and groceries and a money order so I can pay rent. Ah, usually I would freak out about that stuff and I'd be stressing out about it. Like I don't have time, but I do. I do have time to do it. So I'm gonna give it the old okay, you know? Um, Another thing that I look at when I'm going through the okay and I don't know or I don't care kind of thing is how much effort do you want to put into whatever is stressing you out? How much effort do you want to put in? Do you really want it to like break you down? Or on the flip side, do you want it to uplift you so that you can overcome that kind of thing? As in, overcoming something like that can be very difficult. Stresses and stuff like that can be very hard to just look past and put the effort in and just do it. I'm doing this podcast. Even though it stresses me out sometimes, I still do it. Coming up with topics and stuff like that can be very stressful, but I still do it to the extent of that I need to do it because it's good for me. Like it's been working out for me very very much so far that I'm okay with it stressing me out a little bit. Instead of I don't care, I put it in a tone of okay, what's the outcome? Well, if I film the podcast now, I can go get something to eat, sleep, wake up, and then edit the podcast and make sure that it's ready to post on Sunday. Then I've got the rest of the night to do what I want. Bitch, I might go get a bottle of wine and have a nice bubble bath. Like, I have time to do that after I'm done taking my sleep regimen, after I do my sleep, after the podcast is done recording. So I'm not going to let it stress me out. Whatever. I don't care. That's the level of care that I put in. I put effort into this podcast, so I don't care as long as the outcome of the podcast comes out. So that's just another thing that I do. Is do I want to put effort in? Do I or don't I? It goes along with I don't care, but it's kind of different because you can not care about something and put minimal effort in, or you can not care about something and then just do it to the maximum effort and not care about the outcome. So put effort in and don't let that stress level get too high. Another thing that I want to touch base on is when you get angry from your stresses, how do you feel afterwards? I'll tell you how I feel: embarrassed. Because usually I lash out when I'm angry. If I'm very, very upset or angry or overstimulated by a stressful situation, I lash out. And when I lash out at an unknown entity or like a machine that is inanimate, it's not a person, or even if it is a person, I feel embarrassed afterwards by taking action from doing that out of anger or out of stress. I don't know. I get embarrassed about the thing that I say afterwards, the outcome of it. I don't think about it while I'm saying it. I think about it afterwards. It always comes up after, the aftermath of everything. So I guess that's another tip is, do you feel embarrassed about what you did or what you said? Because if you don't, then don't stress. Don't stress about it. You said what you said. Bitch, is okay. That's okay. Take it back to tip number one. Okay. You don't feel stressed about it. You don't feel embarrassed. Okay. Easy. Well, for me anyway, I should say. But it's a lot harder than you think. So always take that into consideration of the outcome, the afterwards. What's going to happen afterwards? If you can follow the steps behind when I was going through my focus episode, stop, perceive what you're feeling, feel what you're feeling, process it, all that stuff. If you can go through all of those steps, even when you're stressed out, you know that you're progressing with your attitude and how you feel. You know that you're progressing. You're doing way better. So accept it, bish. It's okay. It's okay to be like, I don't care and still put effort in. It's okay. It's okay to be stressed out. Just don't let that stress level get so high that you get angry and you don't like the outcome. Because regrets are something that I hate. Absolutely despise regretting stuff. And I have a lot that I regret, but I don't let it stress me out. So, word to the wise, if your stress levels are getting too high, just try to remember the outcome of what's going to happen. Let your anxiety kind of roll on that one. Don't let your anxiety take over, but let your anxiety kind of roll over into that stressful situation to see if you truly do care or don't care. And once you follow some of those tips and some things that you have, your goal for being less stressed is going to go up. It's going to go up. Trust me, your level of tolerance for that stuff is going to shift in a direction that you never thought it would do or you never thought it would go. But I think I'm going to wrap this episode up with that. If you followed any of this, if it made any sense to you, good. Thank you. Um, those are just some examples that I have. You don't have to follow my regimen exactly, but just know, care about yourself. Don't let yourself get disrespected by yelling. Love yourself. Follow up on your processing when it comes to or like your order of how you perceive things and know when your stress level is getting too high so that you can perceive the emotions that you're feeling. Don't jump straight to anger, don't jump straight to frustration. Just think about it for a sec. Is it an okay situation? Is it an I don't care situation or an I don't care situation? There's two differences with that. And then effort. Do you want to put effort behind whatever's stressing you out? Because if you don't, then what's the point of stressing out, bitch? Really? What's the point if you're not going to stand on it? So that's all I have for stress right now. We'll do other parts for anger and stress and managing your anger and stuff like that. But I just wanted to touch base on this because someone at work had brought it up. And I feel like this is a multi episode conversation that could be had. So, first off, don't stress. Okay. Just this episode is all about stress. So, don't stress. Don't let it get to you. Don't get angry. Don't have resentment towards your stress because it's a useful tool that you can use to process emotions and learn how to overcome that stuff. So, yeah. If you like this podcast, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the YouTube channel. Hit that thumbs up. Share this video out. I appreciate all of the stuff that my peoples are doing for me. And my socials are linked in the bottom. I need more followers on Instagram and TikTok, so go hit me up there, okay? Just remember that. Links in the bottom of the description. And don't stress too much. Love yourself because I love you.